Hey, aloha, how's it? Here from Kaneohe, Hawaii. And in this video, I have an interview with my good friend, Doug Cunnington. If you're not sure who Doug is a prominent YouTuber, blogger. He blogs over at nichesiteproject.com. He's a good friend of mine. In this video, we talk about a whole range of topics, everything from email marketing to doing a teardown of my brand new case study website I'll be sharing with you called 52brews.com. I just acquired a website about beer, something I love. But without further ado, I'm gonna hop over to the interview. Aloha. Hey, aloha. I'm here with Doug Cunnington. This is Bo with Waves and Websites. So Doug, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thanks for having me, Bo. Much appreciated. I blog over at Niche Site Project and have a YouTube channel and a podcast where I talk about affiliate marketing and SEO. And I sort of found my way into this stuff sideways. I had a corporate job. I did management consulting and kind of started dabbling with niche sites just on the side. I got laid off in 2015 and decided to give it a shot full time. I've been doing this for a few years and I really love it.
Awesome. And I know you've got you wear a lot of hats these days. Can you kind of tell us what's inspiring you these days? Kind of what are you working on? What's your passion projects right now?
Good question. I'm currently very interested in financial independence in that topic area. So I've spent the last 7-ish years thinking and talking about niche sites and affiliate marketing, and I still have my foot in the water there. But I've also gotten very interested in financial independence and not necessarily retiring early, but just having the freedom to do so if people want to. So as I run into more folks that are looking for side hustles and earning more money, they really just want the option to do whatever they want when they want, within reason, of course. And I think that is really where people need to aim. So I'm kind of trying to pull these two groups of people together. We have a lot of the same interest, and I think I think I'll end up doing more content around financial independence in the future, as well as some of this stuff that I have been doing. As far as YouTube, I have been really enjoying doing better videos and trying to write scripts and add some more B-roll in instead of my very, very shoddy approach at the beginning where it was just a talking head. Maybe the lighting was terrible. So I'm trying to up the production quality and make shorter, more concise videos.
Sweet. Yeah, I think that's, it's obviously a work in progress as a new YouTuber. You kind of dive into this head first and you're like, well, this is fun, and then you realize, oh, this is, there's a lot to learn and a lot to get better on. So I hear you. I'm on that same quest myself. So yeah, okay, Doug. So I really wanted to ask you some questions as kind of like a journeyman niche website entrepreneur. There are a lot of people like me who are we've had a certain level of success with our niche sites where we've reached a certain point, but maybe hit a ceiling or hit a wall where we don't really know where to go or the best way to scale. And for me, my personal hiccups, I would say, are kind of creating the systems to be able to scale. So I guess my long story short, a question I would have is what are just some tips you might have on helping someone scale from, say, $2,000 to $3,000 or $5,000 a month to beyond where you've created a fully scaled business, let's say?
There's a couple areas to look at, and I think it depends on you specifically because some people may have a piece of the puzzle figured out. It's running on all cylinders. It would hold up if you scaled to higher revenue, more websites, what have you. So sometimes you may have things figured out. So it could be some area where you're deficient and you do need to like make up the gaps and figure out, okay, I don't understand exactly what I need to do for content and how to keep a consistent quality level and churn out even more. So there could be pieces that are kind of working, but they'll fall apart once you scale them up. So part of that is actually increasing production. So I was talking about scaling content specifically, but you're just saying, hey, how can I earn more? How can I like 3x from where I am right now? Is
Right.
that kind of the idea?
Yeah.
So from there, I would suggest probably just like looking at what's working well and then doing more of that. So obvious advice, right? Look at what's working, do more of that, do less of what's not working. Now, I'm doing a couple case studies with some folks, and some people are really scaling up and publishing a lot of content, like Charlie, for example. But that is kind of the standard advice: more content, more links. If you want 3x more content, add three, or if you want 3x more revenue, add 3x more content, add some more links in the mix, and hopefully that'll get you pretty close. Sometimes there's a faster path. And with Christy, who's also doing a case study with me, she is in a niche that's fairly small, kind of obscure. I didn't even know it existed or if it would work or not, but she's been able to grow it up to 5K per month for, I guess it took her about 2 years. And she's earning half from Amazon roughly and about half from display ads. And I think she has a great opportunity to create her own products, build an email list, and sell her own stuff. And the benefit with that, which I love creating courses, digital products in some capacity, is you can sell them an infinite number of times once you've created them. And you get the whole piece of the pie. You know, you're going to have to pay a few transaction fees, but most likely it's going to amount to 10% or less when you look at PayPal fees, maybe whatever platform you're using. You're probably going to take home 90% of it. So even if you're selling a fraction of the volume, you get the whole thing and you get a lot more money that way. So I'm taking her a different route to create her own products. And, you know, potentially you can't create your own product in the specific area that you're in, or you don't want to outsource that piece. Maybe it's just not viable. You can still find affiliate partners that maybe pay out a higher commission rate, and that can be a good route too. And I love email marketing. So I would definitely lean in that area, depending on the niche and that sort of thing. So I gave you like 10 ideas. Where do we want to focus in here?
Right. No, I think that's all great. And I see just kind of, boots on the ground, networking with a lot of people, very close to kind of where I am. It seems like, yeah, a lot of people's holdup is for some reason they just can't seem to figure out how to diversify. But there's so many ways to diversify, right? And obviously, and I think the kind of the meta or the higher level that everybody should aspire to is kind of what you were hinting at with creating a list, building a funnel, these kinds of things. People in our space don't really talk about funnels a lot, but I think, in a lot of cases, a lot of situations, there are lots of opportunities there in terms of building your own list, pitching your own products, etc. So, do you follow the whole funnel thing? I mean, is that something you've studied a lot, like ClickFunnels, for example?
Not specifically ClickFunnels. I think that's kind of a pyramid scheme, but I
Okay.
mean, if you watch everyone pushing it, they're just selling more ClickFunnels stuff, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
people could do their own research, but I mean, it's a good product if you're using it properly. But if you're learning from someone how to sell more ClickFunnel subscriptions
Yeah.
from their ClickFunnel, then you're in a weird spot. You need to get out of that spot. But I digress. Yes, I love funnels. When you think about it, the traffic on your website is a funnel, right? You're depending on what you're trying to sell, but you get people on your site and you want them to make a purchase if you're selling affiliate stuff. So that's a funnel. The more content you put out there, the more opportunities you have for that funnel to end up in a sale. And when I started affiliate marketing, I immediately started selling my own products within like the first 6 months. I didn't realize how good of a move that would be in the long run. It slowed my growth in so many areas. I wasn't able to grow my niche sites as fast. and I wasn't able to grow my blog niche site project as quickly either. But in the long run, they both grew slowly and consistently. And then I have more diversified revenue. So for the niche site project side, the whole thing is, a funnel. So I have a podcast, YouTube, the blog, they all bring in a little traffic. I want people on the email list. I give them valuable stuff, build trust. They get to know me and maybe even consume content in all those different areas. And then eventually I try to sell something, usually my own products. Sometimes it's an affiliate offer for someone else's product. But once you build the platforms, once you have your email list, you can do whatever you want. So some people maybe don't want to ever have their own products because they don't want to do the support or creation. You could just sell other people's stuff and make really good money just doing that. So funnels, yeah, I love them, study them. I love the copywriting piece, and it's a whole other side of the coin. I don't talk about it as much,
Right.
but it's super interesting. And I probably spend more time on that stuff than anything else.
Awesome. Awesome. No, it's good to hear. I mean, and again, it's something I think a lot of people in the space don't really grasp, or don't know that that's kind of the end game, and or should be the end game. And it's this idea of like, and I'm sure you're familiar with this concept of traffic that you own versus traffic that, is kind of like rented, for example. So like, let's say all of your sites were to go down, right? You would still have your YouTube channel, you would still have your email list. You've built these audiences, right? So it becomes kind of a safety net for you, and it's all this synergistic thing that's all feeding. So it's pretty awesome. Again, it's something that I would recommend people to study Doug, what he's done.
And I just studied other people and yeah, slowly expanded. I appreciate you saying that, Bo. I think, even on YouTube, which I really like, that is also rented land. You're building on someone else's platform. YouTube's fairly lenient. They don't seem to try to control things as tightly as some of the other platforms, but you can have a YouTube channel do really well, and they could also kick you out of YouTube and, really cause problems. But if you have an email list, if you have a podcast, these kind of these open formats that are not on a specific platform, those are the ones that you can take anywhere. So I could take the podcast, go to another podcast host. It's an open format medium. I don't know the right term. It's an open feed. But if you have a, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, again, YouTube's pretty good, but it's not perfect. And there's a few other platforms where if you build on that platform, you can't reach your audience directly. And that's really kind of what you want to do.
Awesome. And I think this is a good segue too. And I think for me, like, I think I intellectually understand a lot of this, a lot of what we're talking about. I understand it, but I'm not sure that, connecting the dots with some of the systems that need to be created, or some of the processes that need to be set up. And I know that with your project management background, a lot of this probably comes a lot more naturally to you than someone like me. But I guess quick tips that you would have for someone like me in terms of creating these kinds of systems, what would you say there?
Let's pick a specific example so we could be more concrete. So for what kind of system are you thinking?
Sure.
If you could make up an example for us.
So let's say, okay, so for a specific system, let's say creating and building an email list. What would be how would you go about setting that up?
But funny enough, I just rolled over a email list to Kajabi, and it was pretty fun. And it was from Aweber, and I kind of revisited some of these core pieces just because I kind of had to start over from scratch. So with the email list, basically no one really wants to get more emails, all right, most of the time. Now, depending on the industry, which can we reveal the industry that we're going to be talking about for our website example here?
Yeah. So beer.
Beer. Okay. So for beer, it's a little bit different. I mean, I spend a lot of my time marketing in the marketing area, and it's much harder to get people engaged with marketing because there's marketers trying to push stuff onto them. With beer, people want to know more about it, and it's actually a bit of an escape. So if someone's working, they may love to get that email about beer. So a little bit different, but in general, people get too many emails. So you have to kind of be careful about that. So it's rare when someone is just going to sign up for your email list because you have a field available. You need to offer them something. And for beer, I'll just make up some examples depending on what piece of content this would live on. But you can have a little button that someone clicks and it says something like the top 10 hazy IPAs in 2021. And people are like, oh, cool. I want to know the best hazy IPAs, and maybe you compile this information from different sources. So you're putting together a small list of things that people are interested in. For and maybe you wouldn't put that on the Russian Imperial Stout style because that's a list of IPA. So you would have to be aware that the specific content and the specific content upgrade is what people call those kinds of lead magnets. You want to make sure they fit together. So all of your IPA category articles, that's where you want to have that hazy IPA list for, and you could do the same exact thing for stouts. So the top 10 stouts in 2021 or historical styles or whatever. Essentially, you want to have some valuable piece of information that someone would be interested in. And I like to have a one pager or at least very short. You don't want to give like a whole ebook. You may think that's way more valuable. I want to give this whole book or video course or something, but typically people are in a hurry and they're not going to go through all of it. And you want to provide value as quickly as possible. So a one pager, a resource list, those are perfect. I know you on this site, you have like a home brewing section. So maybe you would have like beginner home brewing topics, and the content upgrade would be something like the top 10 items new brewers need. And then you have your list of stuff, that sort of thing. And you could tailor it to the specific category or whatever content it's actually on.
Right. So let me give a little context because I don't think we introduced this to the audience. So we had spoken. So folks watching, we had spoken beforehand. So I'm actually just acquired a site. It's 52brews.com. I'm going to be making it a live case study and going to be working with Doug. I'm actually going to be publishing the case studies over on Doug's site. And what we were going to do for our interview is kind of go through the site and do a tear down. So I think maybe if you could show the site now, I think it would be helpful as we're talking through these things. Might be good. So yeah, I actually purchased this site through a private broker, through actually a very prominent person in the niche website space. Matt Diggity used to own this site. It wasn't, it had been sold a couple times between now, but I think I picked it up for a pretty good price. And yeah, eager to get your thoughts on it.
Right. And I haven't looked super close. Can you tell me a little about the breakdown of revenue and kind of the traffic?
Sure. So I think one of the reasons I got a good discount on the site is it's somewhat distressed, I would say. So last year at this time, it was getting about 2,000 page views a day. It's down to about 1,000. It was hit by the May update, and I want to say the November update of the year before that. This December update actually gave it a bit of a positive bump, which is encouraging. But the last 3 months or last 6 month average income is about 800 a month. Main source of income is the brewer monthlyclubs.com, which is like like beer of the month club stuff. It's also monetized through Amazon Associates and to a smaller degree, and AdThrive. So it's on AdThrive. Is,
Okay.
yeah,
Got it. And you said about $800 a month from the
800,
source?
800-ish. Yeah.
Okay. And when you bought this, did you have any specific things that you knew that were probably going to work to improve revenue or traffic or user experience or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I saw some just yeah, definitely low hanging fruit. One being a lot of like buyer's guide kind of stuff. They're not hitting. I mean, there's just so many keywords in the space that are. It's a very competitive. Let me just say this: is a very competitive niche. That was one thing I wasn't aware of. Like, if you look at like the keyword difficulty score on just about every keyword related to beer, it's as high as it can be. That being said, there are a lot of gaps in terms of like best um, beer koozie and best, these kinds of things. So that's been my kind of wheelhouse, is monetizing Amazon. So that's what I saw for sure. And then just a lot of informational content, kind of upping the, how-to articles, why, who, what, when, where, why, how kind of articles, getting more traffic and monetizing through like ad thrive, and also just, yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking with it. There are some things on the site that I need to fix right away. Like literally the site is being transferred as as we're interviewing, it's transferring today. So I still haven't even gotten access to the site. But like if you look at some of the articles, they did some really stupid stuff. Like I just recently went through an Amazon audit, and it was because stupid things like grabbing images, uploading them, and putting them on the site. So you create these static images that don't change. They did some really stupid thing where they were grabbing people's Instagram images and using their Instagram photos of beer and putting them on the site. So I have to clean that all up, because they cited that they got it from whoever they got it from off of Instagram, but they didn't actually contact those people. Yeah, so it's kind of a shit show, if I'm telling you the truth. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And there is an Instagram presence for this brand. Is that right?
22,000 Instagram followers. Yeah.
Okay. So a couple things off the top of my head. Number one, right? You mentioned some risks in the form of Amazon violations, and I think those are probably number one to, fix those issues. And then from the standpoint of, I guess, just getting more traffic out there, and I haven't looked at rankings or any of those details, but I feel like there's probably a lot of people that are in beer and interested in beer that have big social media followings, and I suspect you could probably partner with them. I know as a beer drinker, I know Instagram is huge for beer, and there's a lot of people, and you probably could put a system in place where you contact and or partner with some of those influencers and have them share your stuff. You potentially could make the deal where you don't have to sponsor them or anything, but you can share their content. You have 22,000 followers. That's enough to get some people's attention, right? So if you continue to nurture that, I have a feeling you could actually make Instagram work, even though I often, encourage people to stay off social media. I think that could be an interesting place to not only get more traffic, but to get more relationships. So I'm not sure how it'll play out in the future, but the more people you know on Instagram, they'll introduce you to other folks if you're able to get some mutually beneficial sharing and basically cross promotion happening. So do you know if it's pretty active on Instagram, or is it 22,000 followers that don't really pay much attention?
It is. They were posting, once or twice a week, or have been posting once or twice a week, and a typical post will get like 30 likes or something. I mean, it's not super active, but there is some engagement there. And I think if I am more active with it, it will be, more successful. I think
Okay.
having looked under the hood of the analytics, however, it was like over the last year, like only like less than 2% of the traffic to the site was from social, right? So I don't know. It's almost like they created two separate businesses or two separate entities that are slightly related. Like they even have an Amazon shop, which I still can't really wrap my head around. Like, yeah, if you open that up, it's I didn't know you could do this, but it's like you can create a shop where you just feature other products, kind of like as an affiliate or something. And this is all new to me. And you know,
I've seen this before. It's like an influencer page, I think.
yeah, it's not
Okay.
FBA. It's not. Yeah, they're
Right.
featuring, you know, curating different products and putting them up in like a storefront
Okay.
thing. Yeah,
Got
I
it.
don't think it makes any money. Yeah.
And did you say that most of the revenue is this beer of the month, like different reviews?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you see that as something where you'll be able to grow the revenue from there? Is there a lot more searches? Like, is this capped out at this point, or is this something you could grow?
I think it is something that can be grown. I think if you niche down, obviously you're gonna have people looking for like specific countries or looking for specific types of beer or specific brands. I think that's a good kind of like indirect way to draw people in, and then also including maybe more calls to action in the informational articles about related topics, targeting these kind of like, let's say there's a beer from Croatia in there or something. So we could put together an article like top beers from Croatia or kinds of beer from Croatia, probably a good keyword. And then that would then link into the beer of the month club, get Croatian beers and Serbian beers and that kind of thing. So
Sure.
yeah.
And have you identified your biggest competitors in this area of keywords? And I think you can get a gauge. Are you doing really well? Have you sort of, you indicated that you didn't think that you were maxed out here, but have you checked out your competitors to see what they're doing? If they're potentially bringing in a lot more traffic because they're ranking for a lot more keywords out there?
Um, that's definitely a weakness of mine, as I'm not as diligent as at the kind of the like looking at Ahrefs, for example, and seeing where I stand in that hierarchy. It's definitely something that I should do. I do know that your friend has a beer site, Matt. I know he's got a pretty big beer site. But yeah, I know it's hyper competitive niche, that's for sure. Yeah. But in terms of
Okay.
where I stand, no, I don't know.
Well, and kind of going back to one of your early questions, what to do to get from this dollar amount to that dollar amount. And you could fill in whatever it is. Some people may say, 500 to 2,000. Some people may say 5,000 to 15,000. Everyone's trying to jump a little higher, and most of the time, especially in this sort of range, this sub, say $20,000 per month range, roughly, people have not hit the potential of the revenue or the rankings or the traffic.
Right.
They've plateaued and they've kind of been doing the same things that they have been doing. Of course, you just bought this site, so I'm not talking about you specifically, but a lot of times when people are stuck at a point, they're thinking, hey, I better start a new site. This one's maxed out. Meanwhile, you go check out the competitors, and there's some competitors out there, for example, that get 15 times more traffic. They're ranking higher for more keywords. A person just hasn't maxed out and hit the potential of what a given niche is, a set of keywords, just in general. In fact, I think I'm guilty of that. Almost everyone's guilty of that, because you have to almost solely focus on that thing if you want to hit the potential, and you still probably won't get there. So I'm not suggesting that you throw everything else out and you only focus on this, but the point is, do the competitor research and you may see, hey, I'm ranking number 6 for this one keyword, but there's like 15 others where, man, if you could rank number 6 for those other 15 keywords, maybe it's 10 times more traffic. Maybe if you can rank number 1 for 2 of those 15 other keywords, then it's, 10 or 15x the amount of traffic. Things get dramatic when you're going from, number 4 to number 1, or anything where you're getting close to the very top, you get a lot more traffic than you might expect. So it's worth it to spend probably a lot of time analyzing your competitors. Now, of course, you can't just copy what they're doing and expect it to work. In fact, that's probably a really sloppy way to do it, but you can get ideas from all of your competitors and hopefully implement it in a different way. If you can figure out how, right, take a step back, forget beer of the month and look at X of the month clubs and how those other companies are marketing that. If you could take a great idea that's working for another industry, not beer, and then pivot it over to this thing that you're exactly trying to do, it could work really well. And maybe no one has done it in the beer of the month club niche.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think when people tend to try to come up with ideas, they tend to look in their own, micro or their own niche, right? Their own ecosystem, I guess. And obviously that's, yeah, I think that's great advice.
And further, I mean, maybe you can get samples from each one of the companies, or at least ones that you're making sales from, or, sign up. That would actually be a lot of beer. So I'm not sure if you'd be able to do it, but, and these are fairly expensive. Actually, a friend of mine had a subscription for a year for one of these, and I was able to share some beers
Yeah.
with him. They are fairly expensive, so I assume the commission rates are fairly decent. So, and at that point, you potentially could do, I don't know if there's a YouTube channel, but you could, of course, publish this stuff on Instagram, IGTV. So you can use your existing platform. You don't have to branch out and do more YouTube. You can just publish this over on Instagram and say, hey, I just got the, original craft beer club subscription, like unboxing, all that kind of stuff, which could be cool and just get more people engaged with the overall brand.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I love beer, so. And actually, that's one of the things. One of the things the previous owners did very well is they have a really good relationship um, with monthly clubs. So they actually have a unique proprietary, I guess, maybe affiliate relationship. So it's obviously this program is on Commission Junction and some others, and but it's a because they have that special relationship, it's a higher commission rate, which is awesome. So I should be able to make those asks, especially, and they've been super friendly to me, so I should be able to get some free beer out of them, which is awesome. So maybe I'll send you some.
Sure. Yeah. And just a nitpicky thing, and this is a personal preference, some other people will disagree, but I like a smaller menu, right? There's all this
Yeah,
junk on here, and a lot of people are on mobile. A lot of these menus are going to turn into something unusable on mobile. So I usually recommend something smaller and simpler. And if you want to have a navigation that has everything on there, maybe put it in the footer and just make this simple up here for the most important areas that people need to get to. And again, I know some people have a different philosophy on that and they want to pass the link juice via the navigation area, but I think there's other ways to do it. And I really like a breadcrumb trail, which I think you could implement in a few different ways. My theme that I use, if you hopped over to Beer of the Month Club topics, or yeah, one of these individual clubs, right? It would give us a breadcrumb trail, right? So if I'm looking at a specific topic area and like the individual clubs. I maybe would want the breadcrumb trail to go back to see this whole list of everything in this category area. So I think breadcrumbs could be valuable just in general as a navigation point, as opposed to this whole mess up here.
I definitely agree. I kind of more of the less is more. I mean, I'm probably going to make it, home, um, articles, reviews, something like that. It's,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Keep it simple. And then sure, you could have, in the footer, you could put a lot of other navigation points like you have here in your quick links. Maybe you have it spelled out in your categories here instead of, well, it's kind of a lot of stuff there, but any other, I mean, I think, yeah, I'll stop talking. What do you got?
So going back to, I guess, before we even brought up the site, we were talking about building an email newsletter. So just to kind of reiterate what you were saying. So for your example, if we hop over to, I mean, this is probably not a good example, but if we hop over to like, yeah, by country and then Belgian beers, for example, you would want to think about creating some kind of sign up or lead magnet, like, or move this over to like gated page, right, where they have to enter their email to get the best Belgian beers of 2021 kind of thing, right? That's kind of where you're going with that.
I wouldn't do a gated page just because, this information is fairly like it's not that good,
Right.
but potentially you're on the right track. Yes, you can have a lead magnet slash content upgrade that has something more, right? So if you just had this exact list and you just printed it out, it wouldn't be as valuable. Some people would sign up. They would think, hey, I'll sign up. I'll read it later. It'll be good to have the list, whatever. But if you had it on this, you have the top 15 Belgian beers is what is covered here. So maybe you have the top 50 beers in the other list where someone actually signs up for the email list. So you can have a little call to action, check out our list, and there are plenty of examples where you have a little call to action, a little button where someone can click and or enter their email address directly in there and then join your email list so that they immediately are sent that content upgrade.
And I think building a list is just best practice. It's going to be best practice for most sites, and definitely for this. I mean, I believe there's an Aweber list of like 1,500 subscribers, just what they've already done. But I don't think it was nurtured or emailed, so it's basically a dead list. But definitely thinking through how to build that list and what to send that list, I think is obviously going to be, yeah, like you said, low hanging fruit. So yeah.
And it's good to, if you have a dead list like that, it's good to send out an email and say, hey, new owners here. I know you maybe didn't get an email from me in a long time or from this list. Here's what we're going to be covering. Here's what we're going to send out. And if you want to unsubscribe, go ahead. You can unsubscribe here. If you don't click this button that says you want to get the emails, you just take them off because you don't want to send emails if it's just ending up in the spam folder and no one's going to read it. You may as well just delete those emails off of your list.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's fair. It costs, the more names you have, the more costly the email service is, right?
Yep. And it hurts your open rate, and in turn that will impact your deliverability. So if a lot of people don't open or look at your emails, it may end up in the promotional tab for Gmail or other clients. But a lot of people do use Gmail, and if your email hits that promotional folder, it's less likely to be read versus the primary tab there.
I mean, this is kind of a good, I think, as we're talking through this, just one topic I'd like to get your thoughts on is eat, right? So right now, all of the articles on the site are posted by the 52 Brews team, right? Do you think it's worth investing time into putting authorship behind the articles? So whether that's me or um, somebody else, you think is that something that I guess would be an easy win or something to focus on in your mind? I know that this isn't. I don't know. Do you think this is YMYL? Do you think this is anywhere close to YMYL? I mean, getting drunk is a health hazard. So.
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't studied it too much. And I would say, just from a trust perspective and knowing what I know about building a brand and like having like some personality behind it, I would say, yeah, put, it doesn't have to be you, but it may as well, right? If you dig beer and you're going to be doing this site for a little while, you may as well put your face on there, say, hey, I love beer, have an about page. Like, some people are going to head over to it, not a ton, but a handful of people will. And it's, I think it's probably fine to have the general 52 Brews team listed there. But if you had an actual person, then it's a little more connected. And I think it builds the brand a little stronger. It may or may not help some rankings. I've never done like tests on that. That said, I always have like an author, and if I want to have an image there, there's an image shown and a little bio and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it's something that even with my other sites, have been kind of willy nilly about authorship, and I think it's something that could be improved. I know a lot of people will create fake people. I just saw this site that gave me nightmares. Have you seen that site? Like this person does not exist.com or something.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Freak me out. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if you're watching this, I'll put the URL in the description. But that site gave me nightmares. But yeah, so they'll create the image and then they'll create a fake bio and they'll create fake social profiles and that whole thing. Which I don't know. It's do what you can, I guess. But that's something I don't know.
Yeah, but this is a thing where you like beer and
Yeah.
you'll talk about it, and having someone behind it, I think, is useful, even if it doesn't do anything for rankings. And like I said, I've never sort of tested it or tried to get data, and I don't necessarily think this is your money or your life kind of niche, but I don't think there's any harm in making it more personal.
Cool. Well, we've been talking, I think, for a long time now. I think we got some good stuff. Thanks so much for your time, Doug. Always a pleasure. Anything else? Where can people find you? I know you have your YouTube channel. What's going on? I know you recently launched your course. I think it's shut down now, but why don't you tell the people a little bit more about your new course, and when it might be popping up again?
Sure. I have actually a few courses, and one of them is called Multi-Profit Site. And that is how to build a site. It's the framework step by step, from finding a niche, doing keyword research, writing the content, publishing it, promoting the site, growing it, scaling, all those things. And I'm not sure when it's going to be available. As you mentioned, I actually just pulled all of my courses. So that's another discussion for another day. But I've closed enrollment for everything, and I will have launches for given courses at my leisure. It's easier for me to manage stuff that way. And eventually it helps sales, right? So back to the sales funnel, it helps sales to have a limited time frame. It just forces people to make a decision, and I'm very upfront about that. I don't try to hide it. But if you just have a course out there and people can get it anytime they want, very few people actually think about it. And having scarcity in place is very powerful, and it helps people make a decision. So I have that course, and I have one called Site Growth Plan, which could be interesting for this specific site. Since you're in a spot where you need to assess where you're at, you need to essentially look at what is going on with the site, look at where you want to be, you do a gap analysis, and then you prioritize exactly what you need to work on based on that gap analysis. So maybe it's more content, maybe it's tweaking things, that sort of idea. I have another course on productivity. So that's kind of a pet project. I don't talk about productivity too much, but I have a few case studies in there, and it's a fun course. You get more done in less time. I have a Haro link building course, and I saved it for last. I also have an email list building course, which I just sort of put together. So I'll get you some access to that, Bo. It's exactly what you need. We talked about some of the things in there, but it breaks down like, how do you build the list? Why are people actually going to sign up? What do you put in the emails? Should I do an autoresponder? Should I do broadcast emails? All those little details and all those smaller courses that I mentioned, like everything but multi-profit site, they're not dripped out. You get all the content at once. They're bite-sized courses that they're meant to be consumed in like a weekend. Now it'll take you a long time to do the work, but you can go through all the content in a weekend.
Cool. Awesome. And I'll put the links to those down in the description. Like Doug said, a lot of them won't be available now, but definitely sign up to Doug's email list, and he will, he emails pretty regularly, and they're very valuable emails. They're not annoying by any means. Very valuable, lots of insights there, and we'll keep you up to date on when those courses might become available. So,
thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks again, Doug. That's been awesome, and I appreciate your time. And see you next time, man. Aloha. Hey, so thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Doug. I'll put information or links to all of what Doug's got going on down in the description below. Please do go check out his blog, his YouTube channel. I can't recommend his stuff highly enough. And I will put a link as well to 52 Brews. So if you could check that out, I would appreciate that as well. Give me any tips you have on how I might improve the site, what I could do to make it better. Until next time, cheers from Hawaii. Nothing better than to get us on the beach. Aloha.